Good morning, Year 4. How are you? Welcome to your final reading lesson of this week. In today's lesson, you're going to be going back to retrieving information from a text. And to be successful in this lesson, you will, as always, be able to identify the keywords in the question. You'll be able to carefully think about what a question is asking you, thinking of possible answers before checking the text. You'll be able to use scanning and skimming to read the text and retrieve the correct answer, and you'll be able to answer true or false questions based on a text. So thinking about what you read yesterday, can you answer the following 4 questions, please? So think about them in your head. If you've got someone to discuss them with at home, fantastic. But if not, just have a think, pause the video now, off you go. Question number 1, what did Max say he could see in the water? That's right, he said that they could see sharks, but it wasn't sharks, was it? It was dolphins. What colour were the dolphins that they saw? Yes, they were pink, weren't they? How exciting to see pink dolphins. Now, why did Lila say they had to be quiet around the dolphins? Yes, that's right, because the dolphins were deciding whether or not they could trust the children. So if Max kept screaming, what might that make the dolphins feel? Might then make them feel a bit scared, mightn't it? And finally, which body part did Fred hold out as he got closer to the dolphins? Yes, he held out his hand, didn't he? As if to just be a bit like, oh yes, I'm not going to hurt you. Please don't hurt me. Okay, so one of the words that we're going to be focusing on today comes from the quote, "The others were shouting and beckoning from the raft." And it's this word beckoning. It's a verb, so it's an action, and it has 3 syllables, beck, on, ing. And it means to make a gesture with the hand, arm, or head to encourage or instruct someone to approach or follow. So I said that Jakob was beckoning to his to his friends, sorry. So he might have been beckoning to his friends to want him to play with him. And some synonyms for this word beckoning are a gesture, a signal, or a wave. So you can see the woman here, she is calling someone over, she is beckoning them. And a second word today is this word that comes from the quote, "These ones are mine. I don't like sharing," he said haughtily. Haughtily is an adverb. We've been learning about these in English this week. It has the ly suffix on the end, which tells me that it's a way to describe a verb. So it has 3 syllables, haughtily. Haughtily means that someone is doing or saying something in an unfriendly way and seeming to consider themselves better than other people. And you can see this man, he's looking in a bit of a snobbish way, which is another word for haughtily. We could say that she looked at the man haughtily. An antonym for the word haughtily would be quite humble, quite caring and loving. But if you're haughtily, you're being quite unfriendly. You're considering yourself at a higher status than others. Okay, let's read on from where we left off yesterday, where they just met the dolphins and Lila was telling Max to be quiet. Fred tried to steady his breathing. It was the most astonishing thing. Do you remember what the word astonishing means? That's right, like amazing or incredible he'd ever seen. It was like a battered river god. He held out his hand again. "Hello," he whispered. "I'm Fred." The dolphin dipped its nose to Fred's hand. He gasped at the surprising roughness of its skin. It butted his hand and then huffed as if disappointed and ducked down deep under the surface. Fred watched, expecting its shadow to disappear. But as he turned back to the raft, the dolphin erupted from the water in front of him. It leapt clean over his head, showering him with spray, dipped down again, and disappeared. The others were shouting and beckoning from the raft. They hauled him up, all 3 trying to grab him at once. Fred couldn't speak, or he didn't want to. He wanted the memory to be a sharp, carbon copied onto his heart. He imagined his father's face when he told him. His heart sang and thrummed in his chest. Remember that word thrum from yesterday, that rhythmic expression. But the others were boiling over with questions and ideas. "It was like they trusted you," said Con. "Or maybe it thought you were going to feed it," said Lila. Maybe someone was feeding them those sardines, said Fred. Later that day, just as Fred's head was beginning to swim with hunger, Lila spotted a fig tree on the shore. Fred climbed up and shook the fruit down onto the raft. They tied the sleeves and neck of his cricket jumper and made it into a sack. Max counted as he put them in. 120, he said, triumphant. So he was very proud that he said that, but he said it wrong. Behind him, Lila mouthed, 53. I always hated figs at school, said Con. I thought they tasted like eating someone else's snot, but actually they're the best thing in the world. Max fished a handful of figs out of the sack and pushed them into his pocket. These ones are mine. I doesn't like sharing, he said haughtily. Lila fed one of the figs to Baka, who ate it hungrily, and half an hour later pooed lavishly over her lap. She laughed and washed her skirt at the edge of the raft. Sloths only go to the bathroom about once a week, she said. So, at least it's done for a few days. Baka looked thin and even more wide-eyed than usual. They poo half their body weight each time, she said. That sounds stressful, said Con. The surface of the raft was constantly being washed with river water, so Lila draped the clean skirt over her shoulders to dry, travelling down the river like a floating scarecrow. Fred's shoes and shorts were sodden wet, but his shirt remained bone dry. The sun was hotter than 2 days put together. Con's cheeks and forehead grew bright pink with sunburn. Lila made her a cold compress out of weeds and plaited leaves, which leaked green water down over her eyebrows, but eased some of the burning. That night, as they lay on a bed of fallen leaves, Baka moved across Lila's shoulder, sniffed at her neck, and climbed up Fred's calf. Sloths were nocturnal, and Baka seemed unusually sprightly by sloth standards. Now I've put this word here, sprightly, because sprightly means lively and full of energy. And this word sprightly has 2 syllables, sprightly. And we could say that Scarlet was feeling quite sprightly today. She was feeling quite lively and energetic. Now if Scarlet wasn't feeling sprightly today, Scarlet might have been feeling quite sluggish or lethargic or inactive. But Scarlet and the sloth are feeling sprightly. They're feeling very lively. He fastened his arms and legs around Fred's knee and began to chew at his shorts. Fred lay still, trying not to move his leg as he looked up at the stars. They broke out in spirals and galloping animals and clustered like hordes of white butterflies ranging across the night. Lila was watching too. Fred, she whispered, are you awake? Yes, he whispered back. The moon's so close, she sounded half asleep. You could wear it as a hat. Fred nodded in the darkness but didn't speak. At home, she whispered, you only ever get small squares of sky, however much you can fit between buildings and church spires. Yes, whispered Fred. I've never seen anything like this. Lila's voice grew even quieter. Fred, are we going to be okay? He kept staring up at the sky. I don't know. And that is where we're going to finish for today. So we will find out what happens on Monday, but there is not going to be any teaching of any new skills today. I have put together a retrieval worksheet for you, and it comes with questions that we've been focusing on over the past month, for example. And you have some of the 5 W's and H questions, such as what did, what were, whose face, how often, what item, where you just need to go to the text and retrieve the answer. Remembering when we retrieve the answer from a text, the answer is always in there somewhere. You just need to find it. And then number 3 is numbering the sentences. Now these sentences are taken word for word from the pages that we've read today. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to get the text that I've sent you, read the pages and find each of the sentences and label them from 1 to 5. Here You are finding the sentence and you are putting the right word in it, because this is an exact sentence and it tells you where to look. And this one is a true or false statements question. So it gives you statements and then you need to tick true, yes, that's correct, or false, no, that's incorrect. Okay, so that is your task for today, guys. There is no explicit teaching because I think we've looked at these questions quite a lot now, so you're more than fine to get on with it independently. Okay, so that is your task for today. Have a lovely rest of your day and I will see you in our next lesson. Have a fantastic weekend too. Bye, year 4.